Hello, my beautiful motorheads. Welcome to Feroce, where we inspire you to live fiercely. I'm your host, Anik Magak. So the question is, are motorcycle magazines dead? There's still some in print, and a lot are going digital. What if there's a hybrid? What if magazines shouldn't look the way that they have looked? Well, today's guest is Motoveli, and he is creating a magazine. Maybe it's a zine. Maybe it's not a magazine at all. I don't know. Let's find out. What would make you decide to do a magazine?
Don't do it. It's terrible.
At this point in time?
Don't do it. End of show.
It's a wrap.
Yeah, that's it. We're done.
All right, great. Love it. Nice to meet you, man.
Well, okay. So this is a loaded question, and we have time, so we'll unpack it over
We do have time. Okay.
The internet ruined it all, and motorcycle magazines are pretty boring these days.
Do you read any of them?
I used to. And then I realized that they weren't what I felt about riding. They were too aspirational. They were the hottest gear, the hottest bikes, the darkest photos possible where I couldn't really see anything. And I'm like, oh yeah, no, I just want to fight traffic, get up into the mountains and fight traffic and come home. And that was just the inception of it. It was just the relatability of the riding behavior.
So when did you do your first magazine?
So the first show and tell time. So the first one was 2018. And this was like a 100-page book.
Wow.
And this was the one at the IMS, but I did three of them. Three big fat magazines.
Wow.
That were just very experimental. It was a side project. It was a after work kind of thing. And so, yeah, 2018-ish.
So what do you do as a day job?
Now I'm doing this.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. I mean, the origin stories are weird, right? Like starting with an origin story, I always find like is tough to do, but I have been a professional designer for over 2 decades. And by design, I mean product design, user experience design, UI design, graphic design. And I started this as a side passion project to grind. Then I lost my job. Then my kid was born. And then COVID happened. And it was like, whoa, holy shit. Got to figure something out. And I think it was just time for me to try something and bet on myself for once.
That's a monumental project to take on. I mean, if anybody knows anything about doing print, actual print, and what it goes through to, what it takes to do what you did with those large magazines is like pretty epic.
Yeah, thank you.
With your design background, obviously you went to design school?
I did, yeah. I
In
went
the
to
city?
SVA in the city, and I graduated, and every job that I got consecutively went out of business. So this is .com. Hi, welcome to professional life. You're out. And that just kept happening and kept happening. And I did marketing websites for a while, and I realized I absolutely hated marketing, loathed it. And I got into product design around the time where Web 2 started. So Web 1 would be like your regular internet, you're just looking at stuff. Web 2 would be you're submitting images and commenting, and it's all coming back. Think social media. And I was really into social media. I joined MySpace. I worked at MySpace early in my career.
Oh,
and
wow.
I learned all about social mechanics and what people do and user-generated content. And that was fascinating to me, like just fascinating. And I worked in technology and design for a couple startups, but it was the same thing. It was like, there were very short shelf life roles. And so when all that stuff happened that I told you earlier, I decided, well, what if I was to do the magazine, like, what would that mean? Would it mean more of this, like big stuff, like a couple times a year? And then I thought, no, fuck that. Like every month, go. Like it doesn't need to be high quality. I say high quality, but I mean, it doesn't need to go through the rigorous cliche print magazine production. It doesn't need to be that, because that's too slow. That's not relevant enough. It has to compete with the internet to be fun, to have its relevance. It needs to feel like something happened and there's a quick response, like it's a timely thing, as you might know, because I sent you some stuff.
Yeah. So I actually have it here, and I got my envelope, and then this, which I just loved.
I
Hope you
can't see
see it.
it.
Oh, okay.
It's a little blurry.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Open
open nicely.
nicely.
Yeah.
So so then I took my knife out
Right.
and
Well,
I opened it.
you got to, because that glue is like, you really got to yank on that glue. So,
Yeah. So I cut it
okay, good.
nicely because that's
Oh,
how
you
I
did.
am.
You opened it. You followed the directions.
Yeah, I'm actually
Yes,
pretty
you
good
are.
at that. What's so great about this is that it's an experience, right? So before I even show some of this, I'd like to share my thoughts about, I have not seen in person the glossy mag that you are doing, that you've changed the format now. It looks very
It's
different
very
now.
different. Yeah. And I
Okay.
can talk about the differences, but please continue.
Yeah. So you made it a very personal experience. And so what I felt like when I received this well, first off, when I reached out, I didn't even know that it was print. And you were like, so you were asking for all this information. I'm like, why does this guy want all this
Yeah. Isn't it?
information? Like my
Everything's
address
supposed to
and
be
stuff.
online
And I'm
these
like,
days.
yeah, I was so
That's
confused. And then I realized you're actually sending me something. And to get mail, like
mhm,
real mail, not a
mhm.
bill, which I still get some of my bills print. It was such an experience. And like this is even more so than that, you totally made it a personal experience. Like there I am. Like you
There you are.
printed me up. Yeah. And I'm going to try to add some B-roll to this interview so people can really see what the experience was when I opened it. It was special.
Thank you.
And I think, what you were saying a little bit earlier, which I find very interesting, is that the regular magazine, the regular motorcycle magazines are something
They're
completely
totally
different.
different.
And I've written for some of those magazines, and this is a
Mhm.
totally different experience. It's an art.
Thank you.
It's an art piece.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I would say that now that I'm glad that you got it. I'm glad that I was able to send it to you because I didn't want to go in and have to try to explain it. I think that would have been hard to
Yeah.
explain it. But now that we're on the same
Hmm.
page, pun. A motorcycle magazine was so relevant and was so important for so many years. I grew up reading them. I read a lot of dirt bike magazines because you wanted to know all these things. You needed to
Yeah.
know them. You wanted to know all the hot bikes. You wanted to know all the places. And that stuff comes to you for free now on the internet every day,
Hmm.
and that's not just motorcycles. That's anything, fishing, buildings, toast. Doesn't really matter. You'll get that information or you'll seek it out and you'll find it on the internet and then you're done. You got what you need. So I think where motorcycle magazines have now tried to position themselves is aspirational, which is like, like I said earlier, like here's the best, coolest place to go. You'll never go there. Here's the best, most expensive bike. You can't afford it. Here's the best gear. Let's put some fire on and lower the darkness of the image so you can barely know what's happening. And then someone writes in, a riding story. And I'm just like, people are doing that on social media by themselves and it's more interesting to me. Like I don't want to wait all that
Okay.
time to get a story about somebody that I don't really know about or care about. And by the way, that's not to say that these things don't have their place. It's just not what I was into. When I originally created the first magazines, this was before Instagram stories. So just for context for the internet tie-in, it was like, oh, let's ride with people that I ride with or that people that are interested in riding, and we'll go wherever they want to go. Wherever they want to go,
What do you mean?
like, where do you ride? Rhetorical,
Oh,
you don't
okay.
have
I
to
see what
answer
you
it.
mean.
But wherever
Yeah.
you go, I'll go with
Yeah.
you.
Hmm.
And then we'll hang
Okay.
out. And then, I mean, I literally wrote it on the cover. It's an exclusive. Ride bikes, take pics, explore places, talk about stuff. Cool.
That's
Right? I mean, and
awesome.
you kind of do that too. Like you're
Yeah.
meeting people that
Yeah.
ride and that are interested in riding. I was doing it in a different
Hmm.
way and expressing it in a different way through the design and through the storytelling. But now people do that themselves on Instagram or on TikTok, right? They control their narrative, and anyone that you follow who's into motorcycle riding, they're obsessed with riding, right? So
Hmm.
let them tell that. What I do is I bring the obsession to like a next level, like an almost like an inside thing. Like we both get it, we both ride, so let's continue, right? And so the format changed from this more of an interview and dispersed throughout the magazine are things like this, right? That you got. So
Yeah,
they're dispersed. There's fake advertising. There's no advertising in it. There's no ads at all. It's all been bootstrapped and rider supported. But I just felt like there was no reason to tell anyone's story at the level that I used to, because they could do it themselves if they want to. Sometimes
Okay.
I'll do interviews with interesting things, but for the most part, I've played down the interviews and I've addressed riding behavior and just the little things that make riding what it is, that only you would know if you rode, right?
So you've distilled it down.
Have I
instead of doing these
distilled
big...
it, or have I rambled?
No.
Okay.
I think that's a great explanation. It's interesting to hear how you're thinking about it creatively.
Yeah.
And also, even though it's this art piece, the tangibility of it is that the commonality, we all ride, right? So no matter if you are, I would say, into art or not into art, or you're into magazines or not into magazines, the one thing that you can, as a writer, connect with is that we're riding, and you're talking about very specific things about riding that we as writers can connect
Yeah,
on.
I'll give you a very good example of where this is not like a traditional magazine. So every season, or every warm season, I do a group ride, and I send out keychains to all the subscribers, and they get an invitation, a formal invitation in the mail that is never talked about on social. So only they know about it, and it tells them what to do. And essentially they create a massive group ride with, 2 to 5 people, but everybody does it all across. And then on the day, we all talk about it on social. And the first year that we did it, there was about 30 groups all around the New York area and a couple out west. And we were all sharing stories on Instagram stories, because everybody had a paper map of things and side quests that they had to achieve and do, that were just fun things that you might do anyway, like go get ice cream or take a cool picture, right? But then it was like challenging, like go to the ocean, like just weird stuff. And they were all kind of rated. But the following year, the invites went out, new keychains went out, people all signed up to do it, and it rained. So everybody bailed out. So I go out by myself. I'm like, this blows. Nobody's out. It didn't rain yet. It was like raining in the later day. This was like in the summer. It was like super humid. And apparently it was going to just like storm. And it did later in the day. But nobody made it. So the following issue was photos from the group ride. And there are no photos in it. It's just boxes with captions like, you could have been doing this, but you didn't, And everybody got a sticker. I have it on here. An absentee rider sticker, because they didn't make it.
Oh my gosh. That's hilarious.
So it's like having fun with the relevance and like what people are doing versus like talking at them. It's like, we were going to all do this together, but we couldn't make it and the weather was bad. So, okay, well, this is the next issue. No one was there. So no one's there. No one's in the pictures.
And it really reflects the reality of life, because how many times within your riding career that's actually happened?
So many
Everybody's
times.
like super stoked to go on this ride, and then just...
Yeah, and I got really depressed
bail,
about it. I was on TikTok by myself. I'm just like, look at me go, talking to myself, But it is what it is. Like, I have no friends. I'm still gonna go. I'm that obsessed. I'm still gonna try to have fun. And people do, and it makes it fun. It takes the pressure off. It's lightweight. It's it becomes like an ephemeral piece of print, if there is such a thing.
It also, when the way that you're talking is that it also is bringing back to the whole thing of like, motorcycling can be so serious.
Oh, so serious.
We take it so serious, right? But it's supposed to be fun. Like, the reason why we do this is supposed to be fun. And I like that you're injecting this with humor and lightness, because again, it should be fun.
Yeah. And on a serious note to that, now I'm going to get really, really serious.
Way to flip it. Let's get back to the seriousness of motorcycling.
There's never a time where I'm on my bike where I'm like not just the happiest person on the planet.
Oh, yeah.
And so if I'm not creating the happiness for the people that are interested in this, I don't think I'm doing the right thing. You could break motorcycle riding into a couple different categories. Like, you can have the mechanic part of it, right, where you're maintaining the bike and you're nerding out on working on the machine, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
you've got like the influencer people and the brands and the cool gear and stuff. But I think that there's this other pocket that are just like people that are just obsessed with it, and they don't know like where they fall on the spectrum of riding, but they just absolutely love it. And that's, I think,
Mm-hmm.
where Motoveli comes in. And it just
I
like
love
keeps
it.
you like believing
Yeah.
that, yes, you're not the only one that's obsessed. Like, we're going to go together.
Yeah.
I'll be your
Yeah.
guide. Let's do this.
I was looking through your social media, and on TikTok, I came across one of your videos. And one of the things that I'm going to quote
Go.
you loosely because I may not get it totally right. But you're on your bike and you do a lot of these shots of riding through New York City, and their point of view. So you're on the bike with the camera out, but you say to a point that you're talking about motorcyclists, and you're like, they're not badass, they're just stupid
Yeah.
happy, and it circles back to what you just said, and I that really stood out for me because it is again, when you are doing the thing that you love, this obsession with riding, you're right, you are just stupid
Yeah.
happy. I mean, there's it in whatever form that is. Sometimes things go
Sure,
sideways. We
sure.
all know that, but for the majority, let's say 90% of the time, it's stupid happy.
It really is. Yeah. That's all I got on that part.
This also kind of parlays into you have a magazine. You're sending people these monthly issues. You also have this whole social media thing going on. And I find it interesting that you actually worked at MySpace, which is like a dinosaur at this point,
Total
right?
dinosaur.
But it really did inform what is happening now on social media. But maybe you could talk a little bit about how you use social media and like where, yeah,
Sure.
I'm going to let you go on that.
Okay. So I've always been this like obsessive documenter of riding. When I got into dirt bikes and bicycle riding, I picked up a camera and a camcorder, and I was just filming my friends when we were kids. And that's never stopped. So this is going on
Mhm.
like 30 something years of bikes, bicycles, dirt bikes, motorcycles. And throughout that time, the only thing that's changed is technology. So I used to, do a 35 millimeter camera, wait for the film to come back. Maybe 3 shots were cool. And then this was my friends and I like proving how big we went off of a little jump that we made. And that obsession and that documentation continued throughout my professional design career, wherever I worked, no matter what, whether I was commuting on a bike or just messing around and doing bike stuff, between jobs. And social media came around. So the evolution was just natural for me to use it and to try these tools. I used to love posting on Instagram a lot because Instagram was a place that you could be a little bit more artistic and a little more artsy fartsy. And they went through this really interesting evolution where people stopped posting photos. The algorithm started messing up. So you weren't seeing your friends' stuff anymore. You were seeing what the algorithm said was the hot thing to see. So then people started becoming scared about posting stuff because they wouldn't think that it would be as great, for example, right? Then I'm going to fast forward and try to make this quick. Then Instagram ripped off Snapchat with the stories. And that was cool. And Snapchat or the Instagram stories was really, really fun for a while. So I started making more moto vlogging when IGTV existed on Instagram. I don't know if you remember IGTV. This was pre-Reels.
It was a blip.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a blip. And once they kept doing things and then they kept changing the formats. And I was like, why am I putting all this energy into this platform that keeps shifting? I'm just going to take a break from it. And that's what I did. I took a break from it for years and I just did stories. But the interesting thing about Instagram is that they had a lot of different like features within stories. And one of them was making filters or AR filters. So I became an Instagram filter creator and I started making filters that you could use in stories that would mimic the type of photography and video that I like to use. And that's where I was living for a very long time, was in stories, because I would make fisheye lenses and black and white lenses and just played around with Instagram as more of an experiment. And the engagement was pretty interesting in stories, but not so much on the main feed. And I was like, what am I doing here? Like, I keep putting all this effort into things and like, it's not like I wanted likes. I just wanted someone to see it. And I felt like it wasn't getting seen. So when TikTok came out, I was like, I'm going to put all my eggs in this basket here and I'm going to see if it resonates on TikTok. And it did. And TikTok is where like I've just exploded with engagement. And it's like real conversations with people, like people that are interested in riding, not only from this area in New York, but like all over the country, all over the world. And people are very genuine and very open. And they actually want to have discussions in the comments. And I was like, oh, this is great. This is fun. Let's do more of this. So for social, for me, TikTok is the place that I like to hang out and to post my riding videos. Instagram, I'm starting to post more on the feed. Actually, in the last 2 weeks, I went years without posting on the feed. And now I'm just like starting to throw stuff up there because I'm trying to take this whole thing a little more seriously.
TikTok, I went on and, I'm actually not on TikTok. And I know that's what everybody says, and
I tell everybody, and nobody
thing.
Listens, and then I'm like, all right.
Well, no, I would. I need a few assistants.
Okay. Fair enough.
I'm not there yet. But so I went through your feed on TikTok, and the vibe on TikTok, like we're connected on Instagram, so I've seen that, but like you said, you don't post as much, so I haven't seen as much of your content. Going through TikTok and seeing it's basically a body of work. Yeah. And then I was starting to realize like, oh, your TikTok feeds the magazine feeds the TikTok. And I can see you have an aesthetic that is very Motoveli. And I was surprised that we were going to see your face today because nowhere on the socials are you visible.
Yeah, I just, sometimes I do it in stories.
Okay.
But I don't know. I like, so on the TikTok, that's just me riding. That's me riding no matter if I was doing Motoveli or not. That's my love of motorcycle riding, period, end of story. And it's just like, I use that as a platform to try to like up the business and get subscribers and things like that. But I don't even go in with the hard sell or at least I haven't yet, because I just enjoy posting the videos and connecting with those communities. And I feel like, well, if they like what I'm doing, maybe they'll want to see what I'm really about, and maybe they'll go into the link and they'll find some stuff and that'll work. I don't know, but I mean, social is like an absolute experiment, and I don't think there's a formula for it. I think what I try to do with the TikTok is be consistent, right? I have a couple different tropes. One is when I'm riding and I'm talking to the camera, and the other is when I'm not riding. And I have like I don't know if you saw it, but I have a playlist called Not Riding, and it's a cutout of my bike, and I walk around with a little stick, and I pretend like I'm on the bike talking to people, but I'm not on the bike. So it's just like, it's fun, Like if I was to show my face and like respond to comments, I guess it would be fun, but it wouldn't be as fun as doing it like this.
Well, it seems to me like, as a viewer watching, that it's a creative expression. Yeah. And the whole thing on TikTok seems very experimental in a fun way that actually reminds me a lot of street art that was happening in the 90s, in early aughts. And that's exciting for me because it's like, oh, it's this like remembrance of a particular style of street art. And it is visually, I don't even know how to, I was thinking about it as I was looking through everything. Like Netflix has one of the warnings at the top of the screen that says, warning, this episode has like a lot of flashing lights and stuff. And I've always been like, why does that make a difference? Like, whatever. And when I looked at your stuff, I was like, oh my God, this is like so. some of the the videos are so energetic and frenetic, and they've got this like energy, which if you have experience or not experience, it's cool to watch that there's that frenetic energy of the city, and you are often, most of your content is in New York City. I thought that was pretty cool. I was like, this is cool. This has got like he's got a consistent vibe through everything.
Yeah, it's funny. When I first started posting TikTok videos, my videos would always get flagged for being
photosensitivity. Well,
not even that, just like warning. Dangerous activities. Like it would get, there would literally be a warning label on the bottom that said, participating in this activity could cause like harm and death. And I was like, what? I'm just hanging out in traffic. Like, relax, TikTok. So it kept happening. And so one of the issues, I don't know if I sent Don't Be Dead to you. Did I send that one to you?
I'm not sure. I'd have
The
to
one
look
with the
through
gold
packet
wing?
again.
Maybe not. But I think I
don't
sent
think
you this
so.
sticker.
Yeah.
Which is participating
Yes.
in motorcycles I'm reading it backwards, could result in you or
Result in
others having
others.
fun.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like, no,
yeah.
that's the label. Like, don't give me this like I'm
Yeah.
going to die. I don't want to hear that. But now that they know that this is the kind of content that I make, like I'm deemed like a professional. So like I don't get flagged anymore, basically.
That's good. That's good. I was also thinking, you're telling me that I need to be on TikTok. Well, I'm going to tell you that I think you need to be
You're
on
not
YouTube
the first to
and do
tell me
shorts.
that. So you know what the issue is with shorts, since we're talking about social? I
Yeah.
have a hard time cross posting. I never post one piece of content one place and then duplicate it and put it somewhere else. And I don't
Okay.
I don't know if that's a bad thing. It probably is a bad thing, but I feel like, well, YouTube is such like a lean back, long format. Like you are, maybe you're watching it on a big TV, and there are like motorcycle riders that do this really well. Like my friend Ducati NYC,
Mhm.
like he started on YouTube, and I actually I had him in this issue, and he was one of the inspirations for doing riding videos for me. But his format is not short form. I think I do really good in short form because I
Yeah.
think I have a little ADHD and I just want to get to the point. Like I don't have the patience. And so TikTok is all about not having the patience. And I'm like, this is perfect. I could do
Yeah.
what I need to say in 8 seconds or 10 seconds or, 30 seconds. That's crazy talk. Or a minute. Woo.
Now you're really pushing
No,
it.
but also I'm a realist in the social media. I look at analytics and I see if people start bailing out, their attention spans are not there. So for YouTube, I think
Mhm.
YouTube is a long form thing. Like you're on YouTube and I watch your stuff on
I am.
YouTube and I'm like, yeah, I could hang out here for 50 minutes, no problem. I cannot hang out for 50 minutes on TikTok.
No, but so here's what I'm going to say is that the shorts on
Yeah.
YouTube is a totally different
It
animal.
is, yeah.
It's like it's almost like they're two different YouTubes. It's like long form YouTube and short form YouTube and medium form YouTube.
I'll try it.
I just think you would just kill it. And also, you need some assistance too.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. I think that's going to be one of my goals this year is to try to take YouTube seriously. So thank you for that headspace. I need that.
No problem. We can all suffer.
Yeah,
together.
let's all suffer together. We're trying to do cool stuff and we just want people to know about it. So let's all, yeah, I'm into it.
So where do you see this whole Motoveli conglomerate going?
In the trash. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm trying to bet on myself. I'm trying to show up for myself. I'm trying to show up for the people that are subscribing to this and paying me monthly for this. I want to expand on it. I want to do so many different things with it. And I've started treating it like a startup. Like it's just me right now. I would love to expand. I would love to get people that are like-minded, that have the time to commit to it, to want to participate in it. And I've started slow with that. And what I mean by that is I'll get collaborators who are interested that tell me that they want to work on this, and we'll collaborate and we'll do something. So I had an artist, Douglas Thompson. He did really beautiful illustrations and we came up with a story and it was really fun and we promoted it together. And then I have some photographers in the pipeline that are interested in doing stuff. And I all come into it with this whole like, okay, this is Motoveli. I have free reign. I could get crazy with it. And they want that, and I think creators, artists, people that are into motorcycle riding, they're tired of the cliche stuff. Like it's so tiring and sometimes it's painful. And they're just up for like, let's do something different. Let's do something fun. Let's experiment. I try to make this a platform for them to do so that's not attached to social, right? Social is going to change. MySpace died. Google Plus never got off the ground. Tumblr died. TikTok's going to die. Instagram's going to die. People are hanging out on Threads. Threads is going to die. It's just no matter what, any cool social media app is going to die. But Motoveli, at least you could hold on to it for a year if you want to.
Now, since you have a kid, or a child?
He's a kid.
Baby?
He's 5. Yeah.
Okay. Does he ride?
He is a really good bicycle rider. He learned balancing when he was he was pretty young. He learned on a balance bike. He has his second bicycle now. He can do pedals. And I also have a Zeus e-bike, which I take him around town, and I take him to Two Wheel Tuesdays and Electric One Days.
What is that? What is it?
There's motorcycle
What is it?
meetups in the city. One is called Two Wheel Tuesday, and there's
Oh,
another.
yeah. I meant the thing. I meant the. Well, go ahead. I want you to tell people what that is. But what's the thing that you take them on?
So I have a Zeus 750, which is it's basically an oversized BMX e-bike.
Oh, okay.
And he sits on the front. So if we're going like around the boroughs and he can't pedal, obviously, or use the bike lanes, I'll take. It's basically my shuttle. It's my minivan as a parent.
About as city as you get.
But it's a great bike, and like
it's great.
It's fun to ride, and it's fun to take him around. And I'll put like the little Bluetooth speaker on, and we'll blast kid songs and just fly through traffic, and it's great. But yeah, he likes riding. I don't know if he'll take to it when he gets older. And I wrote something about this. I'll send it to you in my blog a long time ago when I was potty training him. I wrote that, like, motorcycles is something I do. And if he does it, that's cool. We get to do it together. But like the important thing was, like, I just want to spend time with him, So
yeah.
Turn up. Oh,
God.
They grow so fast.
Quickly.
They grow so fast.
Yeah. I like to get parents' perspective on this, and it's been varied depending on the person, just to see, because it's the next generation, right? And like, how do we, just from an industry perspective, like, how do we continue to get people into it? But we can't force the next generation to be into it.
You can't force it. And also, like, this city is a shit show of driving. Like, it is just an absolute shit show. It's a nightmare. And I think if he ever got into motorcycle riding, it would be a natural evolution. I don't imagine one day of not riding bicycles for him to just one day want to do it, although that's possible. Like, he understands it. Like, he'll stop at the crosswalk. He gets the logic of stop, which is a big deal when you're a little kid,
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know. I think it's like anything else in parenting. Like, we'll deal with that when that happens, if that happens. I just want him to be safe. My dad would always say to me, it's not you, it's the other driver. It's the other person, which is true. So I actually ride, and here's the motorcycle cliches: ride your own ride, all that stuff. Ride like no one can see you, which is what I do. I ride like I'm invisible, and that's the cliche, that I ride like that. I think every single time someone is going to kill me, they're going to cut me off. That person's tire is going to go blow out, whatever, it doesn't matter. And that's why I think riding around here is so fatiguing and exhausting, because you're dealing with that reality, which is also what motorcycle magazines aren't talking about.
Yeah, these are topics we need to address. And the deaths on motorcycles, like, that's another topic nobody ever wants to talk about. And I'm for it, because we have to acknowledge that this is a dangerous sport.
So it's funny that you say that, because I just started Google Alerts again. In the digest of emails, even upstate in New York, I'm getting another motorcyclist dead. And I'm just like, oh, I hate looking at this. But it's the reality. So
it is
reality. I advocate for safe riding all the time. Even if I'm messing around on TikTok, or I'm splitting, I'm doing it at very, very low speeds in traffic. I'm never like trying to squid and, cut at 70 miles an hour. I'm never trying to do any of that stuff. But I think there needs to be like a real discussion about just the level of squids that get on a bike and they're just like, I'm not going to die. And I'm like, oh, hold on.
It's also, it's regional too. In looking at the TikTok videos, I was reminded of my own riding experience in the city. And it's like a video game.
Yeah.
It's a completely different style of riding than if you are in the country. And you're mentioning squids, like that kind of aggressive riding is not as prevalent where I am, which is in the country. But in the city, it's a real thing, and it's what aggravates and gives riders a bad rap.
100% ruins it for the motorcycling community sometimes. And I think most riders that are in New York or in the city, they want to escape the city and ride in the country. Like, that is where, I mean, think about it, right? Like, I don't have to say this to you, but for anyone that doesn't ride, the type of road that you're on makes the motorcycle more exciting and more fun. And if you're in just stop and go, city block traffic, there's nothing there. So getting out of the city and riding upstate is just, that's what I've been doing my whole life. I don't actively want to ride in the city. That's no fun.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a battle to get out and it's a battle to get back. And the traffic has just gotten worse.
Yes. Yeah. I don't miss that. So how many motorcycles do you own?
Just one. I'm a one bike in, one bike out person. I've never had two motorcycles.
A lot easier to take care of.
Yeah. It's like, I don't have room for it.
Yeah.
I can't afford it.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a couple motorcycles, but never multiple motorcycles. I have a bicycle and I have that Zeus bike that I was telling you about. So
what bike is it that you have as
I have a
one?
2015 Yamaha FZ09.
Good city
It's
bike.
a good bike. Yeah. I mean, I toured on it too. I did a 10-day tour out to Ohio and back. And that was cool.
Nice.
And it was all like moto camping and everything. And that was the longest trip I had done on a naked bike. I have this very small fairing on it. And the one thing that I felt through that whole ride, I head check all the time. I never trust my mirrors. I always head check. So I'm always like this, or I'm always like this. And that trip consecutively just put a strain on my neck. That was the one like pain that I noticed. Yeah, it was really interesting. Like I was, why is my neck like complete? I mean, it probably was also camping, that sleeping bad. When you get into your 40s, it all starts to hurt.
Well, I also noticed that on your motorcycle, I don't think you have bar and I don't even know if you have mirrors.
one left mirror.
So also,
yeah, because mirrors don't really do much for me.
No, they don't. And it depends what bike. You know, sometimes the bike vibrates so much they're not doing anything. I always think it's a good thing to
What
head
are
check.
you riding now?
I get to ride a whole bunch of different things, but my just like daily rider around here is a 2013 Yamaha XT250.
Oh, that's fun.
Oh yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's perfect. And I got like a top case. So like,
wait, when you say you get to ride a bunch of things, are you one of those lucky few that gets to test ride bikes and stuff?
You know it.
Yes.
And I'm always thankful for it every single day.
So I know you mentioned it before, but like when you asked about what do I see with Motoveli in the future, does it resonate with you knowing that like you're an industry person, right?
I'm in the middle. Yes and no.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I've worked in the industry and this podcast is sort of industry-ish.
Yeah, it is.
I guess it would depend on like what somebody would label as being in the industry.
When I think like in the industry, I think a personality that basically gets to experience a whole bunch of different types of motorcycle things and then report them back. Yeah.
That's true. Because I've also tested gear. You know, I test gear in different things like that too. So yes.
I'm the anti that.
Okay.
Motoveli is the no gear. Unless someone asks on TikTok, like I'm not.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've had people ask like, hey, you know, will you do all this gear stuff? And I have really mixed feelings about it because on one hand, like I want to make a living. And on the other hand, I'm like, I would much rather someone take what I'm making and promote that. Why? I don't want to promote your thing. Why don't you promote my thing? So that's kind of that's like the indecision that I have right now.
Do you personally wear
Of
gear?
course. Yeah. A full, Okay. I'm an ATGAT person. Okay. Even in the hot weather.
So you were going to ask a question, I think, about the industry thing.
Well, I guess like I would just like to get your take on it. Because you're new to, like I sent you 3 or 4 issues and a whole bunch of stickers. Yeah. And what do you think about it as in the future? Like, where would you see it going?
Your particular magazine or the industry?
No,
okay.
Like,
so,
like, what would you like to see from it? What excites you about it? Because I love all that kind of feedback. I thrive on that. I want that.
Okay. I think I might be a good person to ask that because my background is in design, just like you. And like I mentioned earlier, I have written for magazines. Yep. I have to say that slowly because they're saying I have an accent. Written. I've written for these things. So I think that there is a place for this, especially as I've seen over the past 5 years, magazines die.
Dead.
There was like, I think it was called Iron and Air or something like that. You know, like there's some of these like very fancy magazines that came out gangbusters and have since reseeded. In addition, I've seen some of the big magazines like Rider magazine, that it is mostly a digital format at this point. And it's a little disappointing to see these magazines go away because I do like the tangibility of being able to hold something in my hand, look at it. And a previous guest was John Flores. And one of the things he brought up was that when he was given the opportunity to be an editor of a BMW magazine, that he wanted to take full capability of what a magazine offers, and which is like a 2-spread layout where he could have like a large photograph that was very different. Now, what you were mentioning earlier is that some of these photos are dark or they're moody or like the print quality is not that good because they're just getting cheaper and cheaper. The quality of paper, the quality of print, all of it costs money. The other thing to think about magazines in general is there tends to be an age range to the magazines. It is people that I would say are like 40 and above that grew up with magazines that are interested in them. And then maybe 40 and below, not so much because their only experience has been digital.
Right.
I love any form of creative expression. And I think that one of the things about motorcycling is that it is inertly a creative expression. When you're riding, like whether that's the style of riding you do, how you look when you're riding, the motorcycle you choose. So to me, it goes hand in hand that there could be a magazine that embodies that. And I like that you're taking a different approach to what that is. And there's room at the table for everyone. And I keep saying this with motorcycling is that there's so many different views. Like this, your magazine it's not Easy Rider.
Right.
It's not Rider magazine. It's not, Road
Well, it's not
Runner.
even a magazine.
It's a totally
anymore.
different thing.
I even crossed out the magazine part in the logo. So it just says
really
zine.
Funny.
Because
it
it's
is
like,
a zine.
They're
small. But it's an experience because you're also sending stuff with it. Like you get stickers.
And they're all original and they're all like related to the topic in some way. But I think you're right. I think Motorcycle Magazine typically comes with a lot of baggage. Like you think of it and you think of this like, on the shelf at Barnes and Noble or a coffee table book. This is none of those. Like go ahead, open it up and throw it in the recycling. I keep your sticker, have fun.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's like it's a present. It's a motorcycle present every month in your mailbox.
I try to make it a surprise, but also topical, like yours. Like yours was basically us talking or me responding to your DMs on Instagram to try to get you excited.
My special issue.
Yes, it's your special issue. Yes.
Yeah. You sent me a special issue.
It's number 129.2.
Made me feel like a rock star. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, and I think that's fun for people. Like make them feel special and to make them feel like that. We're riding together, even if we're not physically riding together.
Mm-hmm. And also, I didn't know you previous to this. So this whole thing of just getting something also that was so personalized from a stranger felt like letter writing from my youth. Like it just was like a really nice thing to receive in the mail. And also the time and care you took for your audience. And I think that, so this is a physical thing, right? That exists, but you are also with this zine making a personal connection with somebody through a tangible product. And that's pretty special.
Thank you. Thanks for noticing that. That's what I was trying to go for. And it's really hard to put into words sometimes, even though I've listened to all the sales things and how do I elevator it? And like what you just said kind of captures it. And I appreciate you noticing it. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And I think lastly with that is you being right now the one-man show, and I'm sure you're going to add people to your staff and grow it, that you have flexibility that people who are part of a corporate identity don't need, they have to adhere to certain things that they need to hit. So your flexibility, I think, is going to be your saving grace because you'll just be able to, test and see what works and doesn't work, which is like very liberating.
Well, and that's the way it works online. So that's one of the things that I learned is that if you put something out online or you build a digital product or whatever, people are going to do one of two things. They're going to use it or not. And knowing that that's the way that the signal works, it helps think about taking risks or having a point of view about anything, right? And then seeing what happens. I don't always hit the mark. Sometimes it's too niche. Like I did, do you like Star Trek: The Next Generation?
I'm aware. I'm not a Trekkie. I'm aware.
I did a whole fan fiction of Star Trek: The Next Generation called Make It So. And it's literally a story that I crafted of Picard and Geordi breaking down in the holodeck and having to get apart from the Ferengis, and then the Borg comes, and then that's it. It's over. And it was just like fun for me to do. Not everybody got it, but the people that were interested in that sent me a ton of messages. Like, oh, that was amazing. Like, what the heck? So I try to have fun with it, and I think people expect that level of randomness because I always say, and it's on the front of the website, Motoveli is about riding motorcycles or not at all. And I think or not at all is like a very big portion of Motoveli that is not what motorcycle magazines are traditionally doing. The not at all is the fun part for me.
you're lighting on something, because also with the social media, like if you can get sucked into what you think people want to hear, and that can become obsessive versus just following your intuition and your pulse as to what you want to do, which is much more fun. And how is your audience responding to that? And I think that's an important thing to continue to keep in mind. And that's what makes it unique versus the same thing we see over and over and over again.
It's hard too, right? Because that's a risk in itself. But if you make something that you think will resonate with you, then it's got to resonate with others on some level. And I think that that's an opportunity to own that niche and then expand and find others that are into that as well. Like I grew up, like I love to read Mad Magazine and then Thrasher and then National Geographic. So it's like satire and cool stuff and nature. And it's like, oh, well, what if it was all of those things? And that's where I think the fun is, because when you're off the bike, it's serious mode. It's bleh. But when you're on the bike, you're just like, I mean, you saw the TikTok.
What are we? We are stupid happy.
Yeah, it's great.
As we wrap up here, is there anything that you want to cover?
I think you were able to extract what I feel about the project. I think I want to say, like, if anyone's watching this and they're obsessed with riding and they like creativity and they like satire and they like randomness, that this is something that you might be interested in. Give it a shot. And if you don't like it, just cancel it. It's pretty easy.
I think that's a good place to end.
Yeah. Growth is hard. Growth is hard.
And just as the final note on this magazine is that it doesn't matter if you ride or you don't ride. You're going to get something out of it.
You said it. Mic drop.
So on that note, to everybody listening and watching, ride smart. Ciao.